Chapter 7. A Prisoner of the Revolution. Charles Darnay's journey through France was a difficult and dangerous one. He was stopped at every town and his papers were inspected. It soon became known that he was an aristocrat who was journeying to Paris to save the life of an old servant of the family, and he was treated roughly by the new revolutionary officials. When he arrived in Paris, he was immediately arrested and thrown into prison. A few days later, while Mr. Lorry was sitting in his office in Paris, there was suddenly a noise outside his office. Two people burst into the room.
Lucy!
He cried in astonishment.
And you, Dr. Manette? What are you doing here in Paris?
It's Charles,
Lucy explained hurriedly.
He's here in Paris, in prison.
Then she explained why Darnay had come to France and how he had been arrested.
It's all in the letter he left for me before he came here,
she explained.
We must save him,
she cried desperately. Dr. Manette spoke now. His voice was strong and firm.
I have great influence here,
he said calmly.
Everyone knows that I've been a prisoner in the Bastille. They'll listen to me, and I hope they'll let Charles go.
Dr. Manette left immediately for the prison where Charles was being held. He found the situation there extremely dangerous and chaotic. A lot of prisoners had been murdered by the crowd, and a revolutionary tribunal had been set up by the authorities for trying those who had survived. This was the time when the guillotine was introduced as the preferred form of execution. Hundreds of people were executed, and the dreaded tumbrils carrying aristocrats to their death could be heard on the Paris streets every day. It was a time of fear and terror. In the days and weeks that followed, Dr. Manette worked hard to save his son-in-law. He went before the tribunal and explained who he was and how he had been held in the Bastille for 18 years without trial. Once the tribunal knew his history, he was regarded as a friend of the new authorities. They treated him with great respect, but little was done to free Lucy's husband, who was always angrily referred to as Evrémonde. Months went by, and Dr. Manette went to the tribunal every day to plead his case. Finally, the doctor returned to Mr. Lorry's house one night in a mood of great excitement.
I think I've succeeded,
he told Lucy.
Charles is going to be moved to another prison tomorrow, and then his trial will take place before the tribunal.
He looked tenderly at her.
Don't be frightened, my dear. They'll free him, I'm sure of it.
Outside in the street, they could hear the sound of wheels. They both listened, knowing what the noise meant. More tumbrils carrying people to the guillotine.
I must speak to Mr. Lorry,
the doctor said quickly. Mr. Lorry had been sitting in his office with a visitor from England when he heard the voices of Dr. Manette and Lucy. His visitor was Sidney Carton. The lawyer did not want to be seen by the doctor or his daughter because he wanted to keep his presence in Paris a secret for a while. He signalled to the banker to go out to the doctor and Lucy.